The 500 LP I gained last time, I lost 600 in 3 days. I climbed another 400 back, so I'm around there right now. And these are the 5 to 7 to 8 comps that you're going to want to play if you want to climb this patch. First, we got 5 Fairy Kalista. If you get a Fairy spat, go ahead and play the 7 Fairy version, but if you don't, this comp is super consistent and I've seen it top 4 even when contested. This is your board on level 8. 5 Fairy, Hecarim and Akali for Warrior and Multi-Striker, and then a Zillion for Chrono and Preserver when you get that Camille in. Ideally, your Rakan gets a Gargoyles of Warmogs and the Fairy item, and your Kalista gets 2 Ginsus and her Fairy item, but you just have to slam whatever you get, so don't be too greedy with the items. Roll on 4-1 or 4-2 until you're stable. Some lobbies, that means Rakan 1, Kalista 1 straight to 9. Other lobbies, especially if you're low HP, you're gonna need Rakan 2 and Kalista 2 before you can finally go 9 on like 6-1 or maybe even 6-5. After you go 9, you're gonna want to play another Preserver, preferably a Morgana, and you're gonna want to swap the Hecarim with the Camille to give you 2 Chrono. By then, you are probably top 4, so yeah, just enjoy the free top 4, buy combat charms, and try to win out if you can. For augments, especially the first 2, unless they give a lot of direction, like Fairy Crest or Royal Guard, I'd be inclined to take Econ Augments. I've seen players take 2 Econ Augments and send 60 gold on 4-1, hit their entire board, go straight to 9 and win out. But if you're not offered those Econ Augments and nothing that gives you clear direction, General Combat is really good. Avenge the Fallen, Epitaph, and Combat Caster are all performing incredibly in the stats. The second comp we have is my personal favorite comp of the patch, Ziggs. My Ziggs teacher, MOGG, is apparently the GOAT of APAC, whatever that means, and he taught me everything you need to know about this comp, so let me leak the tech. First and foremost, please do not take a Honey +1 unless you can guarantee Honey +2. 5 Honey is the worst trait for this comp, and I see way too many players get baited into it. As for augments that are actually good in this comp, anything that gives you an Ord item is your friend. That means Latent Forge, Portable Forge, What the Forge, Spellcaster's Toolbox. If you see them, click them. Blitz can use any tank artifact, Unending Despair, Forbidden Idol, Eternal Winter are all Turbo Bis on him. And your Ziggs, Mana Zane, Sniper's Focus, DFG, I mean just please click the Ornn augments, man. And if you don't get offered an Ornn augment, Learning to Spell, Big Gains, both of the hero augments, they're all good as well. In the early game, the first 3 stages, you really want to lose so you can guarantee either a Rod or a Tier on the first carousel. On rocks, if you're afraid to lose, position like this. If your Ziggs is on the 4th row, it's going to throw its bomb all the way to the left, but if it's on the 2nd row, it can hit the Krug that's right next to it. On 3-1, roll until you're 32 gold for these units. Afterwards, depending on your spot, you might want to roll for a combat charm if you're winning, but if you're losing, you might as well just, only take the econ charms and try to save as much money as possible. As for positioning, which is probably the most important part of this comp, there's 2 different ways. The Leduc tech and the MOGG method. If you want to snipe the right side, this is Leduc and this is MOGG, and if you want to snipe the left side, this is Leduc and this is MOGG. Next, we got another reroll comp, Cassio Shapeshifters or Cass. I feel like this comp is a little underplayed. It can consistently top 3 if you're stuck on level 7 or 8, but it can win out if you go level 9 for like 6 shapes and also a Briar 2. On 3-2, you want to roll into your stable. For me, that means cast 2 and like 1 or 2 upgraded frontline units with 4 shape in. After that, if you feel like you're strong enough to win all the fights on stage 3, just sit and save your money. But if you feel like you need to win these rounds because you're a little low, roll for a charm, definitely take all of the econ charms that you see, and if you see a combat charm that's going to definitely help you win a fight, I would take that as well. In an ideal world, you'd 3-star all of your units. Cast 3, Syndra 3, Shyvana 3, Nico 3, Swain 3, but I mean, you're not going to be a millionaire every game. So my criteria is going to be Cassiopeia first, a frontliner second, preferably a 3 cost, another frontliner third, Syndra 3, and then finally another frontline 3. If you roll and you find a lot of Cassiopeias but not much of the other units, it's also okay to just push levels to 8 and 9 to play 6 shape with a Briar. For augments, if you want to hit everything, you just take an econ charm like any of the tickets or raining gold, but general combat works great in this comp. Eternal Growth, Epitaph, 2 tanky. If you see one of those and you don't want to go for everything, you just want to win rounds, take those. Preserver Ryze. I've talked about the Arcana version, which I think is definitely weaker than this version, so if you were playing that before, this shouldn't be too hard of a transition. This is your board on level 8. I know it has a Milio on it. You're not going to hit Milio on 8 every game. Until you hit it, just play an Ahri. But because there is a Milio in this comp, I feel like it's kind of hard to play it from behind. If you're low HP and you're rolling every single turn for as many upgrades as you can, if you don't hit a Milio, this comp can, feel pretty bad. So I like to play it from ahead when I have a lot of gold and I have a lot of HP so that I can consistently make it to level 9. In your 4-2 roll down, you're looking for Taric and 4 Scholars. The other frontline can be pretty flexible. If you hit a Tahm Kench, just pair it with an Ahri for Arcana. If you hit the Rakans, just pair it with a Bard for Preserver. If you hit a Morgana, just play that. You can mix and match. I think you could probably even play like Nasus and Nico somehow. I mean, it gives you Witchcraft with the Zoe. Just mix and match and just hold on to a lot of the good, frontline tanks. And the last comp I'm going to be talking about, again, we're running with the trend, is going to be like 5 different comps. I'm not going to go into them that heavily, but there's 2 sets. There's going to be the 3-cost reroll comps and then the enabler comps. For 3-cost reroll, unless you have an econ augment like Pandora's Bench or March of Progress, I think it's really important to have a strong mid game because on stage 4, some of these reroll comps are not strong enough to compete with the lobby. The 4 options are Blasters, Hecarim, Mages, and Jinx Wukong. For Blasters, there's 3 different variations. Frontline Ezreal, but I mean just put the Ezreal in the backline, come on. There's also Ezreal Hui more trio carry, and there's also Hui Bard duo carry. If you get a Blaster spat and you're not that rich, you can just go level 8 and play 4 Vanguard, 6 Blaster, roll for everything 2-star, and then push levels for Smolder. As for Bard Hui, I've seen it do okay in lobbies, but I don't have a lot of practice with it, so play that comp at your own risk. There's also Mages and Jinx, which I've talked about in my previous video, but I really just want to talk about Hecarim. This unit is not normal. I've said before that these comps can struggle on stage 4 and 5, especially if you don't hit your units, but Hecarim does not have that problem. On stage 3, Hecarim 1 is stable, on stage 4, Hecarim 2 is stable, and on stage 5, if you can manage to hit Hecarim with him being like 10-way contested every single game, he is giga stable. So if you're in a Hecarim spot, you have 2 choices. If you're uncontested, which is very unlikely, you just roll on 7 for this board, and when you hit Hecarim 3, you pretty much win the game. If you are contested, which you probably will be, roll for Hecarim 2 on 7, that should be stable for a little bit. Go on 8 if you're losing, roll for some important upgrades like Kalista 2 and some good frontline units, and then go straight to 9 for Camille 2, 7 multi-strikers. If you get a multi-striker spat, put it on a Smolder or a Briar, and then win the game. I've seen Hecarim 2 win the game, man. I've seen Hecarim 2 win the game so many times. Find your center, unleash the beast, multi-striker spat, press the attack. Hecarim is gonna win the game! And if you get a Vamp Scepter, just hard force Warwick, and I mean, just, yeah, gain some LP. Like, comment, subscribe, comment, and